Oh, sorry for getting back to you so late this week. We had a little bit of a problem early on when I was trying to upload some things onto Blackboard, and Blackboard, excuse me, we ran out of space. I think that has been fixed. I haven't tried it yet. And then as soon as that happened, I ended up um, getting a kidney stone that needed to go to the ER, and I've been stuck here. Uh, I guess I'm getting out in an hour or so. Everything's going to be fine, but there went the rest of the week without any access to anything. So my wife brought me my computer so we can get this done. Anyways, a couple of comments. Talking about last week, right? Last week, you guys did a really nice job of talking about what you guys learned from the uh, Bonsai People movie, as well as from the Blue Ocean Strategy Group. A lot of you guys liked one versus the other. The one thing I found a little strange was nobody seemed to comment on the Jonah Lear podcast. If you did not listen to that podcast, uh, please do so. I think it is a very, very interesting an interesting class uh, exercise. So please do that. All right. I want to talk one thing about the importance of ideas. All right. The importance of ideas to be successful. You need to have a great idea and you need to have great execution. And if you think of the Venn diagram, the successful entrepreneurs are the ones that focus in on the middle where the two overlap. If you have a great idea and you have lousy execution, okay, you don't have the greatest of execution, your venture is going to fail, okay? If you have great execution but a lousy idea, your venture is going to fail, right? You need both. Obviously, if you have a lousy idea and a lousy execution, well, maybe you bought the lottery ticket and succeeded anyway, but I wouldn't bet on it, right? Okay, so this time around, we've been focusing in on creativity, a part of um, the entrepreneurship and creativity part of the title of this class, right? And the Jonah Lear is exercises uh, listening to is a really, really good illustration of how physiologically in the brain, okay, ideas happen, right? What is a good way for, what part of the brain comes up with ideas? I specifically, liked exercises of getting out of your head type things and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, one of the comments that was in there that I sort of have to agree with is the idea that brainstorming in a conference room doesn't work. Okay. And it's another thing that I would worry about is making decisions as a large group. Making decisions with a few people makes sense. Bouncing ideas off of each other makes sense. But don't let a committee make decisions because you're going to have what's called groupthink. And when groupthink happens, you start taking a little from one, a little from the other, and you end up with a monster that everybody will sign off on because they have their little head in that monster, right? But everybody's going to vote and say, "Hey, yeah, I think that would be a good thing," and everybody's going to be happy, and nobody is going to be successful on it, right? And the perfect idea of groupthink example came um, for me about 18, 20 years ago. I lived in Milwaukee, and Harley Davidson had its 100th birthday. And bikers from all over the US, actually all over the world, came home to Milwaukee to Harley Davidson. And we had a week long celebration of everything. And it was going to be capped off with some big concert with headliners that were going to be secret until the last minute, right? And in all of the different venues, we had, bands all week long. It's one of the things that Milwaukee does extremely good. Milwaukee does festivals right. So if and during the summer you want a nice time to go somewhere and listen to music, South by Southwest obviously is also extremely high on the list, but I'd also put Summerfest on that list in Milwaukee. It's a really good thing, right? But this was Harley Davidson's birthday, and it was not during Summerfest. Well, when it came time to announce who the final act was, which was a couple days after, um, before the end of the week, Harley Davidson's committee, and it was clearly a committee choice, had chosen Elton John of all people. All right, Mr. Rocket Man. Okay, like Liberace type sequence clothing and so on and so forth. Okay, not what you would think of as being ideally what uh, a biker would want to be listening to. Not heavy metal, not uh, not Bruce Springsteen. There's a whole bunch of folks, but the committee ended up with Elton John. Okay, and Elton John picked off a little bit of, oh, yeah, I could live with that genre and so on and so forth. And they didn't go one way or another. They went by committee. And for that audience, it was a complete disaster. As a matter of fact, after they left on Saturday or Sunday, they were all leaving towns. You had locals putting up signs on the overheads, basically saying, thank you for coming. Milwaukee thanks you for coming. Sorry about Elton, right? Okay. We see that in business an awful lot. You see groupthink. You start seeing a committee, too many. I guess one of the things that sometimes you hear people say is there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? As an entrepreneur, you want to come up with the right idea, one you can get all the way behind and you can run it and take it all the way through. Okay. Now, where those ideas came from are all over the place. Sometimes they come from your own experience. You needed to do something and you couldn't find anybody locally to do it. And you come to the conclusion, you know what? I must not be the only one that needs to do this. We need to do something like that here, because if I want this service or a product and it's not available, I'm not the only one. There must be a business here, right? So sometimes you get it from there. Sometimes you get the ideas from traveling. One of the reasons I strongly recommend doing things like our study abroad program, or just get hooked on traveling. Right. By the way, if you want to go into the study abroad program, we're going to Germany, leaving May 16th, coming back on June 3rd after going to a bonus city. So we'll spend 2 weeks in Germany and then come back from a bonus city. We don't know yet where. It will depend on where I can buy tickets from. Right now, it looks like that bonus city might very well be Madrid. Okay. But anyways, um, You're traveling around, and all of a sudden you see a very successful business or a very successful idea somewhere. And all your brain says is, that's genius. I bet you that would work in South Texas, right? Later on in this class, um, we will, I'll take you through Culver's. Okay. Culver's, if you haven't been in the north central states, started in Wisconsin. It's the home of the Butterburger. You'll learn a little bit more about that. But if I were to retire right now and say I want to open up a fast food restaurant, I would probably open up a Culver's somewhere near Padre Island, either South Padre Island or uh, Mustang Island, north, Corpus Christi area. Given all of our winter Texans that come from that part of the country, this would be, I think, a hugely successful uh, venture here. But I would have noticed that because I came from somewhere else and I saw the success there and I saw that that might be transferable over here. You might have seen an invention. You may have invented it. For those that are engineers in the class, you may have come up with the perfect product. Maybe you gotten a patent on it and you want to see your baby actually work. So we're going to do that. Okay. And you say, I'm going to open up a business and that's going to be my idea and I'm going to run with it. In those areas, you have to have had a good idea, and those good ideas come from many, many places. And you had to have the execution. And the execution includes a strong desire to do this and to be successful. Right? Okay. All these ideas. How many are there? There are thousands of really good ideas. Now, my younger brother is a serial entrepreneur. He right now he's doing a venture on drones. Basically, he's working with tethered drones, which sounds like it's a contradiction. Drones up in the air with uh, on tethers on big wires that go up with it, and he's doing things like using those tethers to uh, put up a high voltage electricity. So let's say you have a search area you need to search. Well, you want to just smother it in light. Well, one of the things that you may want to do is put up a drone with huge powered, uh, lights. Okay, that can stadium lights that can light up everything, and make it sunny 24 hours a day while you are working whatever disaster you're working on or building whatever you're building, right? Okay. Anyways, that's his idea for that he's working on. Okay. But he gets together, once a month with other entrepreneurs in the Washington, D.C. area. And they have a meeting, usually at a bar. So, honestly, if you tell them, what's all this about? It's sharing ideas, sharing things from one to another of what we can do. And we share ideas. Okay. Now, you may have started listening to your entrepreneur. Okay. Those tapes came from a very organized version of what my brother goes to called the Entrepreneurship Institute. And they have events around the country where they have CEOs talking to other CEOs. My brother's version, he'll tell you, is probably more about drinking than anything else, right? He's got his set of friends, and they're all entrepreneurs, and they have a rule. One of the things they talk about is ideas they have come up with since the last time, things that they think might really, really work as a business. Now, There's one rule that he said that his group has. That rule is that if you have a good idea and someone else in the group runs with it or wants to run with it, that person needs to compensate the person whose idea it was. What's the formula? How much money? What's the formula to figure out what that compensation should look like? Well, they came up with a solution. Any ideas? Sure, just scream out. Nobody can hear you because this is a tape, right? What do you think their idea was? What's their version of fair? What is a really good idea worth? Drum roll. $5. In other words, you got to buy them in the next round of beers, right? The idea here is there are so many really good ideas. Now, there's a lot more bad ideas than there are good ideas, but there are thousands of good ideas. Every entrepreneur has a different really good idea. Well, every successful one has a really good idea. Again, they wouldn't have been successful if they didn't have that, right? But there are thousands of ideas to look for. And what you have to do is figure out what is my focus, at least for right now, going to be. How am I going to make that execution work? So an idea is worth $5, according to them. Right? But having a bad idea is miserable. And you need an idea that you have the energy level to execute and you think you're going to do really well. If you want, and I think this happens more frequently than not, you will say, hey, I think that's a really great idea. I want, you know, I want to get in with you on that. Me and you, let's partner and do this. But if you don't have the time to do it, I'd rather do it with you because obviously you are the person who had that brain thing happened, right? In the middle of the night, the aha moment, all right, the epiphany. And there's probably some stuff in your brain behind here that would be useful. So I'd love to partner with you on that, and let's see whether we can make this thing work. Or else, I hope you don't mind if I take it and run with it. And of course, I'll pay you. What brand? What are you drinking? Right? I'll pay you. Here's the $5. Right? I'm going to run with it because I think that's a really great idea. Okay. So that was going to be my last comment on the idea. Right? Okay. Now, let's talk about what else is going on. What is going on now is I have given each one of you an assignment, an audio tape that came from the Entrepreneurship Institute. Okay. Now, there are 29 of you, I think, in the class. It just grew much bigger. It started out being 2 people or 3 people, and then we moved it online, and all of a sudden, all of you guys decided to jump in on it. Right? So we got 29 of you, which is a larger class than I've ever had on here. So I've given people tapes, but honestly, there's going to be a couple of the audio tapes that a few of you may have that have never been done in this class, right? So I can't necessarily guarantee, exactly how good it is, but the vast majority of these are excellent, right? Now, these were audio tapes from the Entrepreneurship Institute. The set was given to me. I downloaded them from the internet from the Entrepreneurship Institute site. I talked to the president, who was thrilled that here at MOOC we were going to use them. I explained what we were going to do with them, and he absolutely was thrilled and thinks this is a great idea that we have. Right. The problem is, I have the audio tapes. I do not have the full presentation, which means I don't have the slide sets that would have been going on behind you or behind the entrepreneur. So you and the entrepreneur are going to give this class this speech. Now, obviously, your assigned entrepreneur is the one that is going to be doing the talking. Okay, but the audio visual material that's behind it, that supports the CEO, okay, will be your assignment. Okay, so this is a harder exercise than you think it is. Okay, to do this right, your entrepreneur is going to be in your head because you will have listened to this tape many, many, many times. Okay, this person's going to haunt your sleep, right? So it's not an easy exercise to do, to figure out, okay, what is it he's talking about? What would be the ideal visual behind him, right? Okay. Now, a few things I mentioned, we got these about 12, 15 years ago. So some of these may have been a little bit on, right now, they may be a little bit on the older side. Okay. But the things that I want you to be focusing in on, it doesn't really matter whether this happened in 2026 or whether it happened in 2006 or even in 1996. All right. Um, the things I want you to get out of there, out of these tapes, is understanding the psyche about how the entrepreneur thinks. And that's going to be obvious for a bunch of you because you'll see what they think is important, why they think they've been successful, how they've been successful, right? But don't just focus in on the how, focus in on the personality of the person. And those come through in almost all these tapes as well. And we're going to have a big discussion in our discussion boards as you guys listen to the audios, the full presentations, the audio together with uh, your classmates' slide set. All right. So as you listen to the presentation, we're going to have a discussion afterwards. Who does this remind you of? Does this person have the same traits that the previous people did? And if so, which ones? Or are they completely different? Okay. Guess what? They're going to be completely different. Okay. Now, my next question is, do you see yourself? Do you see some of your traits in this particular person? Right? Okay. Can you use them as like a role model? Okay. That's one of the things entrepreneurs need, or very, very helpful. If they can see others that are like them succeeding, it gives them the confidence in themselves that they too can succeed. Right? Some of you will have entrepreneurs that are very, very organized people. Some of you will have entrepreneurs that are micromanagers. Okay. My favorite boss, George Mosier, is not on the list. Well, at least I haven't found a tape from him. But he was a micromanager like you would never believe. And he built, before I joined him, but we built the world, at least the United States' largest furniture store for institutions. So for things like churches, universities, office buildings, we did office furniture, right? And similar types of furniture. We also uh, did some retail residential furniture um, toward the time that I had come on board. And one of the things that I was in charge of was furniture.com. I don't know whether that exists or not. And George Mosher has, in the meantime, sold National Business Furniture uh, because he was getting older and his wife was having medical problems. So, he got out of the business. He cashed out, and I don't know right now who still owns his business, but I know that if I go to Milwaukee, I will still see traffic lights throughout the headquarters, and the people who will work there will know what they mean, and nobody else that walks through there will know anything about it because it's the corporate culture that George Mosher put in place. We'll talk about him probably a little later on in the semester. Right. Okay. But um, you guys are going to be doing that. Figure out what's behind there. Okay. Now, over the last few years, the presentations have gotten better and better and better. And I think one of the reasons is that you guys have been able to pull up more information off the internet. And some of this stuff is dated, okay? And with AI, you you had better not use AI to do the whole thing. But there's going to be a bunch of prompts that you will probably put in to get you some more information as to where to get information about what it is he's talking about. No, you're not going to get a perfect slide for everything, right? Um, you probably don't want a whole bunch of bullet points that say exactly the same words he's talking about, unless that's his personality, right? You've had professors who have the way they give their presentations have bullet points. This, the next one lights up, the one underneath it lights up, and so on and so forth. Very, very professionally, and it helps people focus. You have had very different professors that have different things, pictures, letting that person talk their little story. You have some people who will do a bullet point, not a full sentence, just a bullet point to help them go through their presentations, right? So these are the types of things that, there is no really right answer as to what these will look like. Just be careful. Try to make sure you get the names right. If they're talking about a product and you can find a picture of that product, it's a great thing to have out there. There's some things you are not necessarily going to be able to get because um, they just may not be publicly available. For instance, if you uh, have Bill Miller as your company, there's a couple statements where they are talking about um, uh, the inside pictures of the commissary in San Antonio. I doubt that those are out on the internet anywhere. And if they're not on the internet, AI would not have found them. And be a little bit careful. AI sometimes when it can't find some stuff, it makes crap up, right? It does, right? It says, "Oh, I think this is what they're looking for." It may not actually be existing, but I'll give it to them anyway. Be careful what you get off the internet and be careful what you got. All right. Um, you know, use AI intelligently and realize that AI gets information from all sorts of sources. Garbage in, garbage out. if there's any ever garbage that goes in, if your AI model ever read that garbage, it'll run with it. And computers are miserable at understanding jokes, parody sites. Okay? Parody, sarcasm is not something that the internet understands, that computers understand very, very well. So oftentimes you will on AI get stuff that isn't just not right, completely right. It may be off the wall wrong, right? So everything you get from AI still needs a very human person to go through it and to do a quality control check. We're not used to that. We're used to AI and computers doing quality control checks on us. While we write something, it has blue squiggly lines underneath or red that we misspelled something. Right? It's doing a quality control check on that. But even in that realm, I have sent some very embarrassing emails. One went to my boss just the other day on Tuesday when I had to tell him, I'm not coming into class on Wednesday because I just got, into the ER and they're going to hold me for observations. Okay. And I sent him a note. I started typing Francisco. The computer helped me out and called him Federico. I didn't catch it. And it fixed it for me and had me communicate and call my boss by his wrong name, right? I'm sure you guys have done that too, texting something and said, shit, that's not what I wrote, right? It's not what I was thinking, but the computer thought it knew what it was you were trying to do. All right. That type of stuff. Make sure you double and triple check your presentations. All right. But there's a lot that you can find out there that will make these presentations go smoothly. Okay. Now, I'm putting a homework out there for you. I call this a technical homework. All right. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Great British Baking Show, but uh, they have an exercise in there. They always have a whole series of bakers, and that's a game show where they're trying to um, vote off the worst baker, and the star baker gets assigned every week, and then there's one less person until the Grand Master uh, gets done. Right. So, in each episode, they start with a project that they could have practiced at home. Right. They do that, and then the middle exercise, they are always giving a technical exam uh, where they are given the ingredients and told, here's what the final product should be. Here are the ingredients. Make it. And they are counting on the baker's technical ability to figure out what should have been, what needed to have been in there. Right? It's a technical exercise. What I'm giving you is a technical exercise. Most of you will end up doing PowerPoint presentations because that's the standard, right? And you are going to need to merge the PowerPoint together with the audio, okay? And I have a little exercise, a very, very short exercise with a PowerPoint deck. Um, it's a math assignment with like 5 slides telling a kid how to add 1 plus 1 equals 3, right? and it's got little apples and it shows a little bit. And what I just need you to do is put those two files together as one file where when you play the PowerPoint as a show, okay, the slides change in the appropriate spots, right? It's a short technical exercise to prove that you have practice and you know how to use PowerPoint specifically and put in uh, put in the slide breaks at the appropriate spots in the speech. All right. So that's going to be out there as your homework exercise uh, for today or yeah. Let's try to get this done by Saturday night. Okay, it's not that hard. Um, if my directions aren't good enough, right? There's always YouTube, and nowadays AI will help you do that. Some of you may end up doing a MP4, uh, tape uh, instead of a PowerPoint deck, which is fine. What's not fine, and be very careful with, is anything that is Apple, okay? Because your fellow students may not be able to uh, handle Apple proprietary formats, right? And also things that are out in the cloud. Be very careful that it's very public and that somebody with a PC uh, can download it and watch it. If you're an Apple person and you are doing stuff on Apple and you're wondering whether it worked or not, upload it and then go find a friend who's got uh, you know a Microsoft uh, Windows operating scenario and say, okay, can you download this? Does this work on your computer? Because just because it works on Apple doesn't mean that it will work on everybody else's machine. And also, if you upload it to a site, um, this also will verify that uh, that site doesn't require, any paywalls or firewalls in order to be able to get at it. All right. So that's basically what we're doing here. It's a technical exercise which will help you down the road. Uh, and then after that, just read, listen to, and listen to, and listen to your presentations. In my office, I have a one pager on everybody. I think almost everybody. I think I have everybody. And if you contact me, I can scan that in and send it to you for your person, right? Gives you just a little bit more background on that person. But chances are you can find that information nowadays on AI even as better than what you have there. I think this is going to be a great exercise, but the warning that I have is do it sooner rather than later. We will be listening to these throughout the rest of the semester. So I know some of you like to have get stuff done with early. God bless you if you're one of those persons and you want to be one of the first to do your presentations. That would be lovely. I'd love to do that. So hand them in as quickly as you can. For some of those procrastinators, um, I'm not going to let you procrastinate all that long, uh, but still, we're going to do that. The rest of this class, the rest of the semester, is going to require a little bit of time because you're going to have to listen to each one of these. And we probably will do 3, 4, maybe a week. So there might be one a day, uh, plus whatever else reading it is that you have to be doing, right? So for those of you who decide to do the online class because, quote, online classes are easy and don't take any time. Um, Bad decision. No, it still takes a heck of a lot of time. It still is probably shorter, especially if you add the commute to and from the campus. So instead of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday 1 hour class, it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday 1 hour plus 40 minutes driving, 40 minutes back. So, from the comforts of your home, you're actually probably spending less time than, uh, on an in class type thing. But if you're thinking of doing 50 minutes 3 days a week at most, um, you've got some more work, unfortunately, ahead of you. And this is a good time to tell you because I know you're not going to drop the class because the drop date, I think, has ended. All right. So you're stuck with your decision. Uh, but, anyways, I think this is good. I think you're going to enjoy this exercise. Anyways, with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and we will see you next week. And hopefully, the gremlins will not be on Blackboard when I get home to upload the files I was just talking about. Okay. Meanwhile, I should have emailed you the list, and I believe on Blackboard, even before it died, I was able to get all of your audio tapes up there. But if you don't see your audio tape, again, email me and I will make sure that it gets uploaded. All right. With that, thank you very much. And I apologize for, the little quirks we had this week. Okay. With that, bye bye.